Next, it's my pleasure to present the Distinguished Public Leadership Award. And CTS has established this award to recognize public leaders who, through their vision, leadership, and knowledge, influence innovative transportation policy directions that benefit society. And this year, we are delighted to be honoring U.S. Senator Tina Smith with the Distinguished Public Leadership Award. Senator Smith has represented Minnesota in the U.S. Senate for the past 8 years, and prior to that served as Minnesota's lieutenant governor and as a leader at the local level in the city of Minneapolis. And at each of those stops, she has worked to help build a transportation system that keeps Minnesota moving and enables people to improve their lives and their communities. Most recently in the Senate, and especially as the ranking member of the Housing, Transportation, and Community Development Subcommittee. See, we all have long acronym names. Senator Smith has been a key advocate for federal investment in Minnesota and the nation's infrastructure, focused on securing funding for public transit, roads, bridges, and electric vehicle charging stations. Senator Smith, across all of that work, emphasizes that these investments are crucial for improving mobility, growing our economy, advancing safety, and promoting sustainability. In particular, Senator Smith has championed funding for rural and tribal transit systems in greater Minnesota and across the country, recognizing how vital mobility is for these communities and the really critical role that public transit can play in supporting that movement of our neighbors. In this vein, she introduced the Bipartisan Investments in Rural Transit Act in 2021 and has aimed to increase federal operating cost share for those rural systems and support in lower density areas, and has held listening sessions across the state to hear from rural transit providers and riders. And at CTS, we know that challenge firsthand. We had a rural mobility theme just a couple of years ago, and we know that work continues, but appreciate your championing for that. And I also want to highlight that she has been a great partner both for CTS and the university. Just prior to my joining the center, she and colleagues in the Senate connected with our Accessibility Observatory team to talk about access to destinations work, and to think about access to destinations as a key metric in how we prioritize and think about transportation investments and the way that our system works for everyone. And we know in recent years, thinking more and more about how we measure and track the impact of infrastructure investments has become ever more important, and your willingness to lead on that effort, I think, has helped move the conversation in really productive and exciting ways. So I'd like to invite the senator to say a few words, and please join me in congratulating her. Thank you so much.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's really great to be here with you. Thank you, Kyle and Gina, and congratulations to Christine and to Frank. And wow, it's like your 40th birthday. It's pretty impressive. Now I realize, in honor of your 40th birthday, I had dinner last night with former MnDOT Commissioner Charlie Zelli, who says hello to everyone. Gina, you were just telling me that Charlie has the record of serving on the Center for Transportation Studies board longer than anybody else. So he shared some stories, which I will not share. And I'm just so honored to receive this thanks and this recognition. And I was looking through the names of all of the previous winners of this award, and I guess it's a mark of my lifetime achievement that I think I personally have known every single one of them, including Mr. Oberstar, who is an incredible champion for transportation around the state, and also is famous for giving some of the longest speeches that I have ever heard. I remember one time I was at a speech that Mr. Oberstar was giving, and it had been going on for he was giving the history of transportation, and it had been going on for about 25 or 30 minutes, and he was still at like the chariot stage. So I am just really so grateful for all of you, and I think about this incredible collaboration across all sectors, the nonprofit sector, education, construction, and political leadership, and the work that you all do to make sure that we are doing everything we can, that people can get around this state wherever they need to go as safely and as efficiently as possible. And of course, it's not only people, it's also goods, so that businesses can thrive and so that our communities can actually actually grow and do better. It is really a reminder to me as I stand before you about how transportation and transit is really such an economic engine for the whole state, and also, I mean, really an opportunity engine. If you can't get to your school or to your doctor or to that incredibly fun play that you want to see in Northeast Minneapolis, then your life is just going to be limited and constrained. And as a society, I think we all want to live in a place where everyone can get around to where they need to go, regardless of who they are and where they live and what their resources are. You know, I first started working on transportation issues when I became chief of staff for Mayor Ryback, and I was thinking about how we had 2 teenage sons at the time, and nothing gave them more joy than to be driving down Nicollet Avenue or, you know, some other road and then, you know, bitch to me about the potholes. I'm like, Mom, why don't you do something about the potholes? At which I would always explain to them that was a state road or a county road and not a Minneapolis road. But I remember RT said something when he said something a lot about transportation and about generally what it means when we come together to do things. He said, you know, there are some things that we agree that we do on our own. If your toaster catches on fire, we can all agree that you individually can put that fire out. But we also agree that if there is a fire in your neighborhood, that's when we need the fire department. And similarly, I think that's the way it is with transportation. For a long time in this country, at the state and at the local and at the federal level, we've shared the common value that we need to work together to construct and maintain the roads and the bridges and the freeways and the local streets and the ferries and the bicycle trails and the transit that help people get around, that is really what makes everybody's life work. I don't think I really ever visualized that lesson so dramatically as when I was chief of staff for the mayor and the 35W bridge collapsed into the Mississippi River. It was a really hot summer evening, and I was up at the top of the IDS tower for a fundraising event. It wasn't a fundraising event, it was a community event. And I get a phone call, terrible reception at the top of the IDS tower. I get a phone call saying, Tina, the 35W bridge has fallen into the river. And I literally couldn't process what that even meant. And I looked around and I could see out the window the dust and the helicopters. And of course, early on, we had no idea like what had caused it, what had happened, how many lives had been lost. It was an incredible thing to have happen in our community. But then the next thing I saw were, regardless of party, the governor's office working with Senator Klobuchar and Senator Coleman, a Republican governor, Tim Pawlenty, and a Democratic mayor, and all of the folks in the private sector coming together to figure out how could we fast track the construction of that bridge, and then how could we make sure that the community worked when this incredible major artery going through the heart of the Twin Cities had just literally disappeared in the blink of an eye. That kind of collaboration, I think, is at the heart of what the Center for Transportation Studies is all about, bringing that together, bringing together the research and the education, and then causing everybody to say, okay, how are we going to do this together? When I became chief of staff for Mark Dayton, who was a fiend about improving our transportation system, I became really intimately familiar with the regional collaborations that support so effectively the needs to build out and improve the regional arteries that make regional centers and transportation across the state work as well as they do. And I love that work because I'm sure Nancy can relate to this. Just the incredible kind of figure it outness, especially of local leaders working with state leaders. We tried really hard to pass an increase to the gas tax during the Dayton administration to help support the need for investment in transportation. And while we ultimately weren't successful, I think today about the many, many relationships that are still positive and very productive relationships to support transit and transportation in this state. You know, I think it's really good to remember also that in the midst of what frankly, having spent a lot of my time there, the dysfunction in Washington, D.C. right now, that it was only a couple of years ago that in the Biden administration, we passed the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which was a bipartisan bill, the single most important and largest investment in transportation that I think we've ever made. It's a good reminder right now that we actually can accomplish big things when we put our minds together. And it also has resulted in billions of taxpayer dollars being brought back to Minnesota to improve the roads and bridges and transit that are so significantly needed. I'm thinking about the build, certainly I'm thinking about the Blatnick Bridge, this incredibly important piece of infrastructure in northern Minnesota. I'm thinking about the BRT lines that we're building out as I speak across the state. And I'm thinking about the Borealis train, which wouldn't have happened but for the Infrastructure and Jobs Act, which has smashed through expectations for ridership, which is, again, I think a point of real optimism. They say that patience is a virtue. Unfortunately, it is not my virtue. And so I am impatient for more progress. And as I think about all of you and the work that you're doing, I want to just acknowledge that there's a lot more work that we need to do. I am just hell-bent and will not give up on advocating for the Surface Transportation Reauthorization Bill. There's no excuse for not getting this done. These are the things that we agreed to do together. We need to be looking at important ways that we can support domestic bus manufacturing, which is why legislation to allow for advance payment for U.S.-made buses is going to be so important, especially electric buses. Again, some place where we've made real progress. And we need to support rural transit, as Kyle said, where there is great need and also incredible innovation as rural transit organizations figure out how to deliver better services by really breaking out of the box and coming up with new ways of doing it. In the 20 years that I have been working on these issues, a lot has changed. Commuting patterns have changed, automation and AI, electrification of transportation, and of course right now we're grappling with the impact of massively rising energy costs. And so I'm deeply aware as I stand before the Center for Transportation Studies about the need for additional and ongoing innovation and flexibility. We need to figure out how to build things quicker. We need to figure out how to do that in a way that also allows for robust community input and, of course, ensures that we're protecting our air quality and our water quality and the very best land use that we can. And we are always, I know in Minnesota, going to be pushing the edge of innovation, and that is what makes us such an exceptional state. So I accept this award with a lot of humility. To the extent that I've been able to be useful in this work, it is because I have listened and learned from all of you. Thank you so much, and have a great lunch. Hefty. Thank you, everyone.